DQ live recap of Monday Night Raw for March the 8th, 2021, as we get closer to the WWE Fastlane pay-per-view. But who really cares about Fastlane? It's all about Wrestlemania. WWE made that clear on this show. In case you don't know, WrestleMania tickets go on sale next Tuesday. A limited number of single and combo tickets will be available. Looks like WWE will be selling combo tickets where you can buy tickets for both nights at once. That is next Tuesday, though, March the 16th, the 1-year anniversary of that first pandemic Raw where Steve Austin came out and it was very awkward. Remember the whole thing with Byron Saxton? Yeah, I try not to remember it, but yeah, it happened. All right. Good evening to everybody in the chat room watching this live. Thank you for watching, and thank you for everybody else watching this, whether it's live or on demand. I appreciate your viewership and support. Enough of that. Let's get to it. We had a recap of last week's show with Bobby Lashley winning the WWE Championship, and then Lashley was backstage with the Hurt Business. He was interviewed, his first interview as champion. He said that he's a happy man. It's going to stay that way. 16 years he had to wait. He had to deal with the politics. He had to bust his ass to get to the top. And the almighty era has just begun. We then had the former champion, The Miz, come down to the ring, talked about being empty-handed. He blamed Shane McMahon for the whole situation, said that after everything he's done for the company, after all these years, he was screwed over. He legitimately had stomach cramps, and he still went out there and successfully defended his championship. Now, of course, he did admit to taking a cheap shot, but that was just outsmarting everybody, getting himself counted out. That was just his way of taking advantage of the rules. And the rules state that the champions have an advantage. He said that Bobby had his chance, blew it, but then Miz was threatened to do another match, and Miz said that WWE did one thing right by giving him a rematch against Lashley, and said that when it's all said and done, it'll be hashtag and new WWE champion. Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat, first one of the evening. Thank you for that. Says, why did Bobby Lashley quit WWE the first time? That's a good question. I'm not exactly sure what the story was with Bobby Lashley. He was there, he got a push, he faced John Cena on a pay-per-view, and then he just disappeared. I know he was interested in doing MMA, and between his run with TNA and coming back to WWE around that period, he was doing a lot of MMA stuff, so he may have just had other goals that he wanted to achieve and didn't want to commit to a full-time WWE schedule, hence go into Impact and then being able to do his fighting. But I'm not sure the exact backstage story as to what happened with Lashley in that first run. We had the match between Bobby Lashley and The Miz for the championship. Lashley had an updated intro. He still had the same music, but a really cool intro. I thought it was very well done. New graphics and everything. Big almighty letters for his entrance. And yeah, it made Lashley look like a total badass, major league star look and presentation here. I very much liked this. Anyways, the match itself, well, it was pretty much a squash match. And Psycho Jet Black says the entrance reminded him of Zeus. I would agree with that. I would say yes, it did remind me a lot of Zeus. And back in the day, how Zeus posed and that sort of thing. You had the thunderbolts and everything. It was badass. I will say that much. And really that was the story here. The match itself was a glorified squash match. Miz got a little bit of control, but Lashley did pick up the victory via the Hurt Lock and is still your WWE champion. The one and only Caleb Jacobs with a $3 super chat. Thank you for that, Caleb. The third African American WWE champion, Bobby Lashley. That's right. He is in an elite class, along with The Rock, of course, and Kofi Kingston. We had Drew McIntyre interviewed backstage, and he talked about how he beat Lesnar, and he asked Lashley where his passion is at. Lashley would just come out there at Elimination Chamber and attack him and cause The Miz to cash in Money in the Bank, only for Lashley to beat The Miz for the title instead of McIntyre. So McIntyre basically was talking about how Lashley took the easy way out by helping Miz so Lashley could face Miz for the title and beat Miz instead of McIntyre. And McIntyre said he knows Lashley is dangerous, but then before he could finish his promo, he got attacked by Sheamus. There was a brawl, and Sheamus got the best of him and said it's not over, and he will do whatever it takes to make Drew McIntyre's life a living hell, a misery. And then after the commercial break, Drew McIntyre told Adam Pearce that he wants a match with Sheamus. He wants the no DQ special. And Adam Pearce, of course, granted McIntyre this match. Backstage, we had R-Truth doing some comedy with Braun Strowman. He read Strowman a crumpled up letter, something about Bugs Bunny going to the dark side and joining the Monstars, yada, yada, yada. Said he needed Braun Strowman's help, and he was apologizing to Strowman. Strowman responded by saying he's focused on Shane McMahon. He's going to go out there and demand an apology from Shane McMahon, and then R-Truth was just like, never mind. It was a silly segment. By the way, no Bad Bunny on this show. First week he hasn't appeared since winning the 24/7 championship. We had Braun Strowman come to the ring, and he said that he thinks that Shane McMahon is laughing at him, and he demanded a damn apology. Shane McMahon came out, apologized, and left. And that was the segment. Shane just apologized and then took his leave. But there was more, so stay tuned for that. Mike in the chat room says, I was in the Thunderdome tonight, prompted to cheer for Lashley, just an FYI. Yeah, that is interesting. I mean, at least for now, with The Miz, Lashley is by default the babyface, but one would think if it's Lashley versus McIntyre, Lashley will be the heel. Well, maybe not. Maybe McIntyre will go heel. It's hard to say at this point. Who knows? But I'm still thinking McIntyre's going to go into WrestleMania and win the title in front of the fans, and we're going to get the story that we were supposed to get and the outcome we were supposed to get at last year's WrestleMania with the fans celebrating along with Drew McIntyre. TJS with the $5 super chat. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. He says, after Apollo loses to Big E, will he become a scammer Nigerian prince who solicits money from people online? Seems like a Vince idea, probably post-WrestleMania. Well, thank you for going off topic, TJS, talking about Smackdown. I suspect that if Vince gets cold feet with this Apollo angle, and I guess we'll have to see where it goes on SmackDown. It's hard to say, but I hate to say it. I would not be shocked if after Apollo loses to Big E, he's back into catering and WWE just drops the whole thing. I don't know what they're going to do. I hope Apollo continues to be pushed, but it's hard to say what the future is, and it could change week by week depending on Vince McMahon's mood and how he's feeling about the character. Anyways, back to Raw, because this is the Raw recap, not the Smackdown recap. So everybody shame TJS in the chat room. All right. We had Shane McMahon backstage, and he was talking about that he's got something else to say to Strowman, but he's going to wait until a little bit before he says what he wants to say to Strowman. We then had our no DQ match, Sheamus versus Drew McIntyre. Sheamus was jumped by McIntyre as Sheamus was making his entrance, and this was a back and forth match between these guys. Sheamus got sent over the announce desk, and then Sheamus managed to get the upper hand using a kendo stick. McIntyre made a comeback, used the kendo stick on Sheamus, and then they got back in the ring again after fighting on the outside, and Drew McIntyre hit a superplex, got a near fall, went for the Claymore, but Sheamus threw a chair in his face. Sheamus then got knocked into the chair, and Drew McIntyre managed to hit the Claymore, but Sheamus went to the outside of the ring, and Drew went after him, and Sheamus managed to hit the bro kick on McIntyre. Then they each had the same exact idea, because they're close and they have similar minds. They both grabbed one of the steel steps, and they basically knocked each other out with the steel steps at the same time. And the referee checked on Sheamus and called off the match, said that neither of them could continue. And that was that. It was a draw. It was a no contest, and I suspect we're going to get a match at Fastlane, and it's predictable because Sheamus ain't going to be in the title match at Wrestlemania. Looks like it's going to be McIntyre beating Sheamus at Fastlane in some kind of stipulation match, and then it'll be Lashley versus McIntyre, possibly Lesnar added to the mix. We'll see. I'm still not holding my breath on that one, but you never know. If Vince feels Brock Lesnar's got to be there, then Brock Lesnar will probably be there. Again, it depends on how Vince is feeling, I think. Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, Sheamus versus McIntyre in a steel steps match. Don't give them any ideas, because I could see them doing something ridiculous like that. I never want to see a steel steps match again. I'll just put that out there into the universe. And Steve-O says they're just going to have it at Fastlane. They should have just let their first encounter be there. I agree with you, but, they had to fill time. 3-hour Raw. So they put a match on Raw that had a non-finish just to set up another match at Fastlane. That's the WWE way to do it. And Gary says this match was great just to get a stupid DQ like that. Yeah, I mean, it really was just filler to set up another match. Match was really good, but yeah, I don't think it needed to be that long. They probably could have made it shorter if they were just going to do a non-finish. But then again, if they both got knocked out in a quick match like that, then it wouldn't have helped them too much. It's better that they went through a long back and forth match before finally knocking each other out. So we'll see. What kind of stipulation match would you guys like to see other than steel steps? So take out steel steps. What kind of match should these guys have? Let me know in the comments section on YouTube, and for those of you watching live in the chat room. I'm seeing comments about a last man standing match. That's what Brandon is saying. Jose says last man standing or I quit. Kilt on a pole match from Psycho Jet Black. Falls count anywhere from Rays. And seeing a few more I quit matches. Yeah, I guess I quit will work. Whatever. TJS says exploding barbed wire death match. That would be funny. I would laugh my ass off if WWE did that. TJS has even more jokes. Eye for an eye. Cinematic Middleton says cage in a cage. Jeez, you guys are too much. Ray's Fan 42 says exploding sparkler match. There you go. We had a Randy Orton video package recapping the feud with him and I guess right now Alexa Bliss and the spirit of the Fiend Bray Wyatt, who's still gone, still missing since being set on fire at the TLC pay-per-view. We had AJ Styles interviewed backstage and he was basically trash talking Randy Orton. Orton confronted him and challenged Styles to a match, which Styles accepted for the main event. We then had Shelton Benjamin versus Xavier Woods. Not much to say about this one. They're doing a tag team titles match next week, New Day versus Hurt Business, but this is just filler to kill time until next week. Shelton Benjamin was distracted by Kofi Kingston and Xavier beat him with a roll-up, so stupid heel. I actually would not be surprised if we get a title change next week, just because WrestleMania, I feel like it's more likely New Day will be in a marquee match over the Hurt Business. But we'll see. That's next week. We had Matt Riddle backstage, and New Day came through the curtain, and Riddle had his match, and he asked the New Day to watch over his scooter. We then had Riddle versus Slapjack of Retribution. I do not care about this storyline, and again, it's just filler until next week. Next week, they're loading up Raw a little bit. Next week, it's going to be Riddle versus Ali for the United States Championship, but this week it was Slapjack versus Riddle, and I mean, yeah, pretty much just a squash match here. Riddle hit the final flash knee to the face, and then the Bro Derek to pick up the victory. And then afterwards, Ali yelled at Slapjack, you know, the usual stuff, being pissed off, and said that Slapjack doesn't belong. Elon Brown thinks Ali's going to be the new U.S. champion. I mean, I would lean towards no, just because Riddle won the title a few weeks ago at the pay-per-view. I do not see Riddle losing the title this soon, and I know people like Ali, but at this point, I'm like, whatever, man. I think you got to build somebody else up for Riddle at WrestleMania. How about Goldberg? I think that's the money. Get in Goldberg for WrestleMania versus Riddle for the U.S. title, the first championship Goldberg ever held. I don't care about Riddle versus Ali, so I hope Riddle just beats him and then moves on, and you finally end the damn storyline. And no Keith Lee on Raw. People in the chat room talking about what happened to Keith Lee and maybe Riddle versus Keith Lee at WrestleMania. Yeah, who knows what's going on with Riddle? He just disappeared. After the Royal Rumble, he made one appearance. He wasn't at the Rumble, and he's gone again. And nobody really knows what the deal is with him. Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat says, Slapjack likes to slap and jack in front of others. I see what you did there, Psycho Jet Black. By the way, I feel embarrassed to say this, but that Blink-182 album, Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, only like a few weeks ago, I finally got the joke. For all these years, I just thought it was taking off your pants and your jacket, but it's actually take off your pants and jack it. I never got that joke until a few weeks ago. So I'm like totally embarrassed to admit that I did not get the joke. Looks like somebody's got to be put in timeout in the chat room. So TJS, get to work. Stop talking about how great the Blink-182 song is, or the album. We had the Raw Tag Team titles on the line. Naomi and Lana versus Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. They brought out Reginald, Nia and Shayna did, and she talked about how cute he is. Not much to say about this match. Naomi and Lana got a little bit of offense, but then Reginald interfered and Naomi tagged in Lana, and Naomi was yelling at Reginald. Nia came in, charged at Lana. Lana fell onto Naomi, who fell off the apron, and then Lana got hit with the chokeslam power bomb from Nia Jax. Still your tag team champions, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. No surprise there. They're facing Sasha and Bianca Belair at the pay-per-view again. And we had a really cringy segment. I actually skipped over it. This happened before the Raw Tag Team title match. And no Asuka again, by the way, as Ray's Fan 42 pointed out. No Asuka. She got her teeth knocked out a few weeks ago, and she's now MIA. We had Braun Strowman come to the ring because Shane McMahon backstage said he's got something to say to Strowman. Strowman wanted to know what it was. Shane McMahon, he was in the ring initially, and then he left the ring as Strowman came down. And Shane, from a distance by the stage, said he's got one thing that he wants to get done, but he doesn't know if he can talk to Strowman about it. He hesitated for a while. I'm not sure if he forgot his lines or what was going on here, but man, this was such an awkward segment. Shane was like breathing heavily into the mic, and he finally said that he would never say something to make Strowman look stupid. And then he started making backhanded comments, basically saying Strowman is stupid without directly saying it, saying like he's heard that people have referred to Strowman as stupid, that sort of thing, and made fun of Strowman. And then Strowman finally had enough of this. He charged after Shane. Shane then got into a car that was waiting in the parking lot, drove away. Strowman just was frustrated and left. And then it was revealed that it was actually not Shane that escaped into the car. So he outsmarted the stupid Braun Strowman. This segment was so dumb, did nothing to make me want to see this match. I mean, this was awful. This was just a terrible segment. Oofman Entertainment with a $5 super chat says, Shane will be revealed to be Braun Strowman's father. I hope not, but anything's possible in that regard. WWE does these types of crazy ass storylines. I know people are like, this match will be entertaining. Shane will do some crazy spot, but right now I have zero interest in seeing these guys wrestle. Steve-O said, Shane McMahon said so stupid at the end, and that summed up our thoughts. Pretty much. And Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat, thank you for that, says, we're stupid for watching Raw live. Tell me about it, Psycho Jet Black. So I'm done talking about that. It's pretty clear that's going to be a WrestleMania match now. Whatever. We had Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke backstage talking about wanting a championship opportunity, but they're not alone. Charlotte Flair, in her only appearance on the show, talked about how she also wants a championship opportunity. Just a way to get her on the show, I guess, with Asuka being gone. And then we had our main event, AJ Styles versus Randy Orton. And you knew when this was the main event segment, like going into this, I'm like, okay, probably going to end with something involving Alexa. ZOMG Ruler with a $2 super chat, thank you for that, says, wait, that means Shane McMahon had a kid at 13. Even more of a type of storyline that Vince McMahon would probably want to do on TV. Shane McMahon having a kid at 13. I could see Vince loving that idea. And hopefully nobody that is in Vince's ear is watching this live stream, because they might just give him that idea. You never know. So anyways, AJ Styles versus Randy Orton. Styles hit his forearm smash to the outside to gain the advantage. He put on the calf crusher. Orton was able to get out of that, and he made his comeback, and he was going to hit the RKO, but then Styles got out of the ring, and as soon as Styles slipped out of the ring, we had Alexa Bliss in her creepy funhouse room. She had her Jack in the Box, but she said not yet as far as opening it. She took a match, she lit the match, and then blew it out, and then Kane's pyro went off in the ring, and Randy Orton started coughing up that black goo substance, and the match was still going on. AJ Styles came back in with the phenomenal forearm and pinned Randy Orton, and after the match was over, Alexa Bliss just laughed at him, at Randy Orton. And that was the end of Raw, everybody. Steve-O says Alexa is Kevin McAllister of Home Alone with all these pranks to Randy Orton. I mean, it's getting to that point where it's just that cartoonish. So, AJ Styles, a guy who has no direction for WrestleMania, as Elon Brown points out, beats Randy Orton, who clearly is facing the Fiend at WrestleMania, but I guess we gotta wait till after Fastlane till the Fiend magically reappears just in time for WrestleMania. Raw was kind of boring this week. I liked the whole new presentation with Bobby Lashley, but other than that, other than the beginning of the show, like almost this entire Raw I think was skippable. Like it was total filler. WWE had a ton of announcements for WrestleMania tickets, but what did they really build up? Like, somebody help me here. If I'm wrong, give me the information. What did WWE do to hype us up for Fastlane? Did they announce any new matches? Like, I felt there was almost no build up for Fastlane, other than, you know, doing that no contest with Drew McIntyre and Sheamus. But yeah, this show just felt like complete filler. They did announce 2 title matches for next week, so they actually did more to build up next week's Raw than Fastlane, quite frankly. I'm giving this show a C-. Definitely a below par Raw. Not a terrible show overall, but pretty lackluster in my opinion. Mod W gives it a D-. Ill Games, the Gamer, gives it a D. MVP Kevin, Steve-O also with a C-, Jose with a D+, and Michael Wayne gives it a C-, as does Matt Helms, and Nathan Washington gives it a D. The one and only Caleb Jacobs gives it a C+. Tic Tat Tat says Raw was still better than the Revolution main event. Poor AEW. They're going to overtake Ricochet now for the butt end of the jokes. They're going to give Psycho Jet Black a year's worth of material now for Super Chat insults. Anyways, guys, thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. I hope you enjoyed the recap. I hope it was more entertaining than Raw. If you did enjoy it, make sure you give it a like and tell a friend. Spread the word about the No DQ YouTube channel. Have a great week, everybody. Take care. Stay positive, but not COVID positive. And I will see you guys next time.